But then I got to a point where I said, you know what? Cancer will not win. And I believe that through the entire process.
All around us, there are people with extraordinary stories. People who have navigated through difficult life journeys and never gave up. They are overcomers. And now, they are sharing their story. This is Upliff, Your Voice.
So in August of 2018, I was experiencing some pain in my chest. At the time, I also had a knot in my breast that was a pretty substantial size, bigger than what most people would deal with. And I didn't want to put it by the wayside, so I went in and got checked out. At the time, I was working for a company in Aiken. It was just a lot on my plate just as a single mom, and a lot of times I did put things to the side so I can take care of other things, including my child. This particular time, I decided to go ahead and make sure that I was okay. Being prayerful, believing God for my healing, of course. I didn't expect to get the news that I did get. While I was there, they did a normal mammogram, and at the age of 30, of course, or prior to 30, they don't tell you to get a mammogram. You kind of wait until you're 30 and after. I did my mammogram, and there was something on the mammogram when they received the results that was not normal. So after that, I was told I needed to see a particular doctor, and they wanted to do a biopsy on my breast just to be sure that it wasn't anything that they needed to be worried about any further. After I did the biopsy came back positive for me having cancer. Still trusting God through the news that I had just gotten. I had to see a specialist here in Augusta at Augusta University. At that time, a lot was going on in my mind, because at the time I wasn't really told what type of cancer I had, or what it was, or what size it was. So your mind is just constantly going until you actually get to meet the doctor for them to tell you what it is. And once I actually had the appointment, I was told I had stage 3 breast cancer. That knocked the wind out of me, of course. It was a lot to take in at the time, being so young and having so much ahead of me as far as life and purpose and the things that I know that I wanted to achieve. After that, it was tough. It was hard to sleep. My days, all I could do honestly was think about my son. At the time, Zion was a year old when I found out, I believe. And it was really tough even trying to figure out my next move as far as my career, my life, me and him just doing things together, because my mom was constantly on this diagnosis that I had just received. After a couple of weeks, I had another appointment, and with that appointment, I had a PET scan. The PET scan that I received was just to make sure that the cancer hadn't spread outside of the region of my breast, to see what type of treatment that I would need. After I received the PET scan, my doctors told me that not only was the cancer in my breast, cancer was in different parts of my body. My lymph nodes, my lung, my liver, my ribs. It practically had spread all over my body. My mind was in a million places, and I think for about 2 weeks, I barely ate anything. I didn't really want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. In the beginning, of course, I didn't really let a lot of people know about what was going on with me. I let my prayer warriors know so they could be praying for me. But it was a lot. It was a lot that I was dealing with, a lot that my mom, she went to all of my appointments with me. It was a lot that she was dealing with at the time. Her only daughter going through something like this, something that we could have never imagined. It doesn't run in our family. No one that we know of has ever had breast cancer as severe as I had it. But after about 2 to 3 weeks in, I had to get myself together. I had to refocus. I had to get to a place where I said, okay, God, if you can't do this, it can't be done. And I trusted and I believed God through the process. After the PET scan, at the time, I was told that I had stage 4 breast cancer. And most of the times when you hear stage 4 breast cancer, that's the end. I didn't really count on my doctors to tell me if it was going to be the end or not, because I trusted God up until that point, and I knew I had to continue to trust God for my life. I immediately started chemotherapy maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks after that. It wasn't that long after I got the diagnosis. I didn't get a second opinion. The way that it was told to me, the cancer was very severe and I needed to handle it as soon as possible. In doing so, I did chemotherapy here in Augusta, Georgia, at Augusta University, at the Georgia Cancer Center. And I have some of the greatest doctors. And I remember my first appointment at the cancer center. And well, prior to that, I actually had to have surgery to get my port put in. And I never really thought that I'd be walking around with any kind of device in my body. After that, I had my first appointment at the cancer center for treatment. I went in for treatment my first time. My mom was with me, and my best friend Evelyn was with me. And it was so many people up there, and there was so much going through my mind. But I still trusted God, because if he got me to that point, he was going to allow me to continue to live. And that's what I kept speaking. I kept speaking life over what looked like death. I kept speaking that I'm healed. I kept speaking, by your stripes I'm healed. I kept believing the words that I was receiving every Sunday and every Wednesday night, sometimes Tuesday nights. I was receiving from my pastors at church and the leadership there. A lot of times we go to church on a week-to-week basis, and you know, cliche, you take what you're fed and you want to walk it out. But it's when you're actually hit with something in life where you really have to take those words and really apply them to your life. And I had to do that, and it was extremely difficult. So I did chemotherapy for almost a year, which was very hard. It was a lot of times when I was actually extremely tired. I didn't really have the energy to do a lot of things in the very beginning. And then I got to a realization that me not having the energy wasn't necessarily me or my body, it was my thought process. I kept thinking, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. And then it came to a point where I realized I did have the energy, whether it be to do certain things with my son. Of course, I had to use wisdom, be careful about being around certain people because of, you know, it suppresses your body and it kills your good cells and your bad cells. But then I got to a point where I said, you know what? Cancer will not win. And I believed that through the entire process. I was still going to church. I was still doing certain activities with me and my son. I was still happy. I was excited about what I knew God was going to be doing for me. When I received my results, it was December of 2018. That particular year, and still now, I get PET scans every 3 months, just so the doctors are able to say, hey, this is going on, we see this, we just want to be careful, we want to change your treatment. That particular month, I received my PET scan, and they just pretty much told me, hey, everything's going well, we're going to continue your chemotherapy. Okay, fine, no problem. The next month, I had a doctor's appointment, because while you're in chemotherapy, my appointments were every month. I was told by Dr. Vineyard, who did my surgery, that my results were incredible. And I said, well, they didn't really tell me that in December. What do you mean? And she told me that, well, we don't see anything in your breast anymore. We don't see anything in your lungs. We don't see anything in your liver. There's practically nothing there. So I said, well, okay, what's next? So at that time, I had to meet with my stage 4 cancer doctor, and he decided the best course of action was to continue treatment for a while, until we were all clear. Maybe in 2019, April of 2019, they couldn't find anything. So I said, well, thank you, Lord. It's a feeling that I can't really describe, I can't really explain. It's extremely hard to, because when you're expecting God to do something and you don't really know when he's going to do it, and you don't expect for him to do it that soon, and when you get that kind of diagnosis, your mind is just in a million places. But then I got to a point where I said, okay, Lord, if you brought me out of this, I don't want to do chemotherapy anymore. And I told my doctors, I said, well, if I'm here, I don't want to do chemotherapy anymore. I am believing God for my healing. And at that point they said, well, we're going to allow you to do maintenance therapy. Maintenance therapy isn't quite chemotherapy, but they're drugs. They're therapeutic to the body so that you don't have to continue having those kind of drugs that are doing harm to your body if you're doing very well. I remember going through all of that. And one of my pastors, Pastor Gina T. Harris, I remember her telling me, she wrote on my Facebook page one day, and it was so random. And I just began crying that day when I saw it. She said, just live. And when she posted that on my wall, it was something that was forever just etched on my heart, etched in my mind, that I decided that I just wanted to just live. I come from a background in a church family where I've seen people be healed over and over and over again. And I didn't expect anything less of God than to heal my body as well. Because I did have stage 4 breast cancer, we all have to still be conscious of the fact that it's an ongoing disease, so to speak. I'm always claiming my healing. In December of 2019, I had a partial mastectomy done. That was extremely hard for me because as a young lady, very young at the time, 31 years old, you want all of your body. You know, you don't want anybody cutting on you. You don't want anything like that taking place. But since that was a source of the problem, I decided to say, okay, God, I'm going to trust you through this as well. I went through the surgery. I went through the process. And since that point, God has just been doing amazing things in my life. And the amazing thing about this process has been I've matured so much because of the things that I allow God to take me through. I didn't complain about it. I didn't murmur about it. I just allowed God to take me through it. And I think a lot of times it's extremely difficult to go through certain things and not complain and say, well, why me? Why did it have to happen to me? There are certain things that I didn't get to do or maybe that I missed out on. But I trusted God for what was going to happen in my future. I trusted God with my life. I trusted God with my son's life. Anybody dealing with any kind of cancer is extremely difficult. But when you have a cancer that you really don't know if tomorrow is going to be the end, it's a little harder. But what I'll tell anybody is to continue to trust God, believe God for your healing, know that God is a promise keeper. He's a deliverer. He's a healer. And I'm so grateful to God for how he's delivered me. I'm Shatara Jones. Thank you for listening to my story. If you would like to uplift your voice and share your story, visit upliff.com.
As Shatara said, if you want to uplift your voice and share your story, sign up at upliff.com. You can also visit our shop to get your Upliff merch. Subscribe for more videos and hit the notification bell too. Thanks for watching.